So, friends, welcome to this lecture series on technology, society, and politics. The today's lecture is titled Future Technologies and Our Social World. The objective of this lecture is to introduce before you the nature of the technologies that we are going to invent and what kind of challenges lie ahead, particularly for the state. And the second part, the challenge going to be faced, I will talk tomorrow's lecture, which is titled Technology is Political. But to talk that, we should know what are the kind of technologies that, in the days to come, that will invade our life. So some of the points which I will discuss in this lecture may overlap with the kind of lecture I have delivered with the title Fourth Industrial Civilization. That was part of the lecture on Fourth Industrial Civilization and to let you know what is the meaning of Fourth Industrial Civilization. So today, some of the points discussed in the Fourth Industrial Civilization will come into this lecture, but this is, basically formulated with the purpose of telling you the nature of future technologies. So let us assume that, friends, relentless advances in technology are set to transform the way we live together in future. So when new technology is coming, of course, we have to confront some fundamental questions. That is, how much of collective life is possible in the days to come? Because we are living in a state, and state gives us protection and laws. But will it be possible in the future to make a collective living because of technology? And what should be left out to the tech world? What will be taken over by the technological world in the future, which earlier was part of collective life? Because technology is taking so many things from our collective life. So with this fundamental question, friends, if you ask an average human being about how computers work or what is social robotics, drone technology, or UAV, unmanned aerial vehicles, artificial intelligence, machine learning, data algorithm, self-driving cars, speech recognition technology, or image recognition technology, So most people keep silence. We know that we are all benefiting from these kinds of technology, but most of us don't know anything about how these technologies work. But we are used to these kinds of technologies, and these technologies are around us. And friends, this is same with the technocrats who knew little of the social consequences of their technological inventions. Friends, in the tech world, most of the groundbreaking technologies are being developed by very few engineers who are tasked with thinking little about the social consequences of their invention, their technological inventions. That majority of scientists, technocrats, are unaware of the social consequences of their inventions. So friends, certainly it's a political question that a student of politics should certainly ask these questions. So it is necessary for us to understand what are the future technologies. Only after understanding future technologies, we can answer so many fundamental questions, political questions. So friends, I will be telling you some wild imaginations in this lecture, in this discussion, some provocative imaginations. Sometimes you may feel science fiction, but it's real, it's going to be real. Friends, first thing you have to keep in mind is, about technology is an idea of teleportation. Teleportation. So teleportation is a future technology that the world is going to witness. Teleportation. So certainly, friends, you will feel science fiction like what I am saying. But simply said, teleportation is the transfer of matter, any matter, from one point to another. There is no many matter, only one matter. All of us are part of the matter. So it is the transfer of matter from one point to another point. That is the idea of teleportation. And teleportation has been a common theme in science fiction, books, movies, video games. And the earliest recorded story of a teleporter was published by famous writer Edward Page Mitchells. Edward Page Mitchells. In the story, The Man Without a Body. It was written in 1877. So in this story, a scientist invents a machine that can break down a living body. That can break down a living body, a living human body, for example, or any other animal body. That can break down a living body into atoms. It is then sent through an electrical current, through a wire to a receiving point. So your body is cut into atoms, broken into, not cut, broken into, atoms, or diffused into atoms, and it is sent through electric current through a receiver point through a wire. And at the receiving point, your body is again reconstituted. This is the idea of teleportation. And friends, Arthur Conan Doyle, in his a short story, the disintegration machine, has talked about this kind of an idea in one of his story in the year 1929. So this has been a prime concern of literary imagination some times ago. But the modern idea of teleportation was first introduced by the American science fiction horror, The Fly. That was in the year 1958. A scientist mixes his DNA with a fly, and the fly has entered the teleportation pod with him. That was the idea of, the science fiction horror movie, The Fly. But friends, let us imagine a scenario in future about which we are so far not without clueless. We are without clue whether it happened or not. But scientists are moving towards that direction, and some scientists would even claim that it is possible in the days to come. So, why should we think about teleportation? It is because we should be mentally prepared to ask some tough questions. In future, friends, if technology grow phenomenally, teleportation will become a reality. Then, friends, it will raise so many moral questions to human life, to the human society, and also certain political questions to state. Friends, what happens to a society if in case future technologies enable us teleport flesh and blood humans from one place to another place? So by splitting us, by splitting our body, by breaking us into atoms to smallest units as much as possible, can we morally do it? Even if it is technically possible? What happens if that inventor who knew how to teleport a human, who are able to break your body into atoms, into smallest units, and reassemble you again at a receiving point, do not reassemble you? What happens to your body? And is it doable? And morally, is it right to allow technology to convert humans into smallest units as much as possible and reassemble into some other receiving points? Is it morally correct to let humans to change their natural shape? Friends, if it happens, if this technology is evolving in the future, just imagine the possibilities that technology gives you. A robber can go anywhere, a lover can go anywhere, a killer can go anywhere, an enemy can go anywhere. National borders and the very idea of military will remain waste and meaningless. Terrorist, enemy, killers, robbers, everybody use these kinds of technology then. They can go anywhere without being noticed by anybody. More interestingly, you see, friends, a thief can secretly pursue what one wanted to pursue. So you imagine the possibilities technologies will give you in future once you are able to have and apply teleportation technology. So the moral and regulatory challenges it poses for a state is enormous then. Regulatory ability of the state will increase. state will become again a monster, because state will regulate. So, but anyway, we will be forced to redefine so many political concepts in future. So the very idea of state will be rewritten. But the point is that, are we mentally, morally, intellectually prepared to ask these kinds of questions? Because at this point, we will be shy of thinking like this, because this kinds of a technology didn't evolve. But friends, science books tell you that scientific world is thinking like breaking humans into atoms and teleporting them from one place to another place. So the challenges lying ahead are profound, friends. So like teleportation, in the days to come, the world will be so much preoccupied with another very powerful technology, time travel. That will be a future technology, just like teleportation. So teleportation is based on quantum physics, quantum mechanics. It is based on quantum mechanics. That is the theory of the matter at this very small scale. At the very small scale. Theory of matter at the very small scale. So we are able to split matter into the smallest units. That is the idea of teleportation. But time travel is not like that. Time travel is the idea of universe or matter at the largest scale. The matter at the largest scale. So, for example, Einstein's theory of relativity. Friends, in the scientific world, many people are fascinated by the idea of seeing the future before we are going to the future in its due course. So we are very much conscious to see what happens 10 years ahead, 20 years ahead, or 100 years ahead. We are very much conscious to see. And what happens if we are able to move forward 100 years from this particular moment? But so far, no person ever demonstrated this kind of back and forth time travel. It happened only in science fiction. But Einstein talked about, a time travel. But so many professors in Western universities, for example, Professor Ron Mallett of the University of Connecticut in the US claims that he had found an equation. And he claims he has a machine which is based on Albert Einstein's theory of special relativity, which says that time accelerates or decelerates according to the speed at which an object is moving. Time accelerates or decelerates according to the speed with which an object is moving. So for example, friends, if you were on a spacecraft, you imagine the spacecraft is traveling at the speed of light. Then time travel theory suggests that time would be moving slower for you, because you are traveling faster at the speed of light. At that speed, time will be, for us in the earth, time will be moving slower. So, if you were, then to return earth, having traveled in space at the speed of light, for less than a week at the speed of light. Einstein tells that 10 years would have already passed on Earth. So you have went into space at the speed of light, and you come back within 1 week at the speed of light. Einstein says you have already traveled at the speed of light, then already 10 years would have passed at Earth, and your wife would be 10 years older than you. Right? Before you were going to space, your wife was at your age. But once you went to space at the speed of light and it came back, what happened? Your wife became 10 years old. So these are, sort of very complicated abstract science theories, but science is moving that direction. It tells us that matter and energy cause space and time to warp and stretch. So you are able to you are able to move to space at the speed of light. It's like a circle. You are moving in a time is stretching. According to Einstein's, time is stretching. So you will come back the place where you have started, according to Einstein's time travel theory. So you will be traveling through a time loop, a concept he has developed. Friends, the point is that if these kinds of technologies are possible, can you believe it then? Can humans ever do a time travel? Can we create machines which is capable of time traveling at the speed of light? So the moral and regulatory questions, then these kinds of technologies posing for the stage is enormous and profound. At present, our states are not that talented enough to attend these kinds of questions. But friends, in the days to come, you have to ask these kinds of questions. Or friends, you take the case of medicine, and another very important, area of futuristic technologies. In medicine, there is always potential for surprise. Take infectious diseases, for example. Friends, it is a near certainty that we will see so many major viral pandemics within our lifetime. Again, you will see, I'm damn sure, and most medical experts predict, virologists predict, in your lifetime alone, you will see so many other pandemics. So there have been several, new viral threats in our lifetime. You have seen SARS in 2003. In 2003, your lifetime, you had seen, SARS, influenza in 2009, swine flu in 2009, Ebola in 2014, COVID-19 2019. So even if we have vaccines already prepared to test against new disease threats, friends, we still have to wait an outbreak of another pandemic when it appears, because we can predict when a new pandemic will appear. So friends, the state has to confront and control the breakout of epidemics in future. Even I remember reading Stephen Hawking claiming that, I think it was by 2030s, Stephen Hawking predicted human body will have been injected with more than 300 vaccines. I think most of you might have already vaccinated 15 times. So many vaccines you might have been injected during your childhood, and now you are also compelled to be vaccinated for COVID-19. But we will not be in a position to live in this world without vaccines. That's why Stephen Hawking predicted that in the days to come, a human being cannot survive on Earth without being vaccinated for 300 pandemics. So your body will have more than 300 antibodies. Imagine what a kind of body you will have in the days to come. So friends, the problem with this kinds of issue is that the structure. This is basically the problem with the structure of society, because the structure of society affect our health. In 1970, there were only 2 urban areas with a 10 million population. In 1970, there were only 2 cities with a 10 million population. They were Tokyo and New York. Tokyo and New York were the only 2 cities in the world with a 10 million population. But friends, in 2017, there are 37 cities in the world with a 10 million population. That means, friends, in the days to come, there will be no rural areas. There will be only urban conglomerates. That means, cities will connect with the cities. There will be no rural areas. All the people will migrate to cities. And friends, in the cities, there will be problems in a scale which we will not be in a position to solve out. So pandemic will be just like having a morning coffee in our society, because every day there will be outbreak of pandemics. This is a worst scenario, friends. In the days to come, there will be worst scenarios. The UN itself has estimated that by 2030, the world will have more than 2 billion people under poverty, living in slums. Because when you have cities, you will also create slums. So friends, how to plan our cities, how to save the people from pandemics, these are all tough questions in the days to come. At present, the state is not, grown up enough to anticipate these kinds of questions, because our states are still at an infancy. It didn't grow enough to address these kinds of imaginative questions. Science has grown, but the point is whether state has grown enough. Science is growing very much at a higher speed than the way in which state and its imagination is growing. And not only that, our state is not grown enough to ask these questions. You think about genome or genetic engineering, friends, for example, genome or genetic engineering. Biology will be the leading science for the next 100 years. And we know genetics is the study of DNA. Genes are our units of inheritance. The body's program file. Genes are our body's program file. And genes contain instructions, code. And genetic engineering, what is genetic engineering then? It is manipulation of genes, that you are rescripting the code in the gene. That is called genetic engineering. What is genome then? Genome is a way of collecting and mapping the gene data. That is genomics. That scientists are collecting and mapping the gene code. That is called genomics. So genomics is an information gathering field that is growing very bigger. DNA, RNA. Science concerned with the proteins and generic material in DNA and RNA. So friends, a new age of true gene engineering, a new science called gene engineering is already grown up. It's already grown up. Once humans are able to read the genetic code, friends, once we are able to understand the grammar of our gene, what is being written in our gene, friends, we are in a position to rewrite that gene code. What happens to our society once the scientist or science is able to rewrite the gene code in your body? That we are able to redesign our DNA. That science is able to redesign DNA. Friends, next few decades, we'll see the emergence of new life forms in our planet, analogous or parallel to the natural humans, because we will be in a position to create new humans by rewriting DNA. So, this is a very serious moral question confronting the scientific world. Is it morally correct to allow scientists to rewrite your DNA so that better human beings can be created? Who will interfere in these kinds of scientific imagination and thereby channelize science towards socially useful purposes? Science has already become very wild, friends. It has become very wild. Or you take the case of synthetic biology. Synthetic biology. It is a very strange world, friends. It's a very strange world. I have talked to you about synthetic biology already with my lecture on fourth industrial civilization. The title, of course, synthetic biology, is an oxymoron. It's an oxymoron. Means biology is nature. Biology is nature. We are all part of a nature. That we are all part of a biological world. And what is synthetic? Synthetic means we are creating a biology that is not part of the nature. We are going to create a new biology that is not part of the nature. That's why the word synthetic biology. So friends, medicine, agriculture, drug design, energy production, even space exploration will find use of this technology. The field of genetics, genetic engineering. Genetics means understanding the code being written in our DNA. Genetic engineering means the way in which we manipulate that DNA. Or molecular biology. It has already grown up. And there are already many forms of synthetic biology. And friends, synthetic biology is not only limited to Earth. NASA, for example, is very much interested in developing synthetic biology. Because NASA already has a synthetic biology program which it uses for its astronauts in Mars mission and in space mission. Because in space, scientists need shelter, oxygen, food. So these kinds of things can be synthetically created. Where our science is going, right? So in the days to come, already, friends, you might have read from newspaper that Bill Gates had already eaten synthetic meat. That is not natural meat, synthetic meat. And he was saying that synthetic meat is many times better than natural meat. Once, friends, look at the direction in which science is moving. So, only, friends, all these, genetics, genomics, genetic engineering, or synthetic biology, all these, scientific advancements are creating moral questions, technical questions, as well as political questions. These are all fundamental questions that how to, reshape science for socially useful purposes. Because at present, science is very wild. Or you just imagine about transhumanism, friends. Another very, very, what may we call a wild scientific imagination or a future technology. Just imagine, friends, transhumanism is the idea that we have to use advanced technologies. Transhumanism is the idea that transhumanism is the idea that humans have to use advanced technology such as pharmacology, genetic engineering, cybernetics, nanotechnology, etc., to radically enhance human beings. All these technologies combined together. What are them? Pharmacology, genetic engineering, cybernetics, nanotechnology put together, we can radically enhance human capabilities. That means, friends, transhumanism is the idea that we need to create better humans. That means, transhumanism believes that the present humans are not better. So we want to create better humans in future. So, and some philosophers say that such humans are post-humans, that humans after human, that just like we say postmodernism, or we say post-industrialism, or we say post-feminism, or we say post-culture. So what happens to culture after culture has been matured? What happens to modernity after modernity has been matured? What happens to industrialism after industry has been matured? Just like, post-humanism is what happens to humans after humans has been matured. So this type of, wild imaginations, these are all, these are already underway. So what are we to believe then? So imagine a future world populated by a new species of post-humans, and the post-humans are more happier, more happy than us, more virtuous than us, more intelligent than us, who are many centuries far ahead than us. Already scientists have invented genetic virtue and moral enhancement technologies. Friends, already transhumanism, it's an idea that we have to radically extend our lifespan. We have to radically extend our lifespan. That by the time of this discussion, friends, a French woman, Janet Calment, still holds the record for the longest human life in Earth. She lived up to 122 years, from 1875 to 1997. 1875 to 1997. Jean Calment, a French woman. And medical science still not able to extend the maximum lifespan. But what happens, friends, in the days to come, your grandchildren or their grandchildren are able to live more than 200 years. You imagine your grandchildren or your grandchildren. We will not live that longer, friends. Anyway, we will all die less than 100 years. But what happens? Your grandchildren or their grandchildren are able to live more than 200 years, because science has grown, medical technology has grown up, pharmacology has grown up, synthetic biology has grown up. What happens? Is it morally correct to let humans live more than 200 years? So we have to ask, how long should a human being be allowed to live on Earth? Then we have to ask that question, friends. Today, our scientific questions are all concerned with extend our lifespan. That is our concern, that all science is geared towards extending lifespan. Our medical science, our pharmacology, etc., are concerned with extending your lifespan. But friends, there will be a time we have to think about killing human beings. because science is growing that direction in which your grandchildren or their grandchildren will be able to live more than 200 years. So it's morally permissible, friends. Even if technically it is possible, is it morally permissible? Because your world is full of people who are 200 years old or 250 years old. You just imagine that situation, friends. It's not that distant. It will happen in the days to come. So state has to ask these kinds of questions, highly philosophical and moral questions. Or you just imagine about artificial intelligence, about which I have already talked in your previous lecture about fourth industrial civilization. So friends, artificial intelligence, that's not a future thing. It's already around us. Artificial intelligence has already appeared. So artificial intelligence means, machines that functions like human brain. And already machines with brain are being used in self-driving cars, or AI is used in self-driving cars, speech recognition system, lip reading system, that machines are able to read what your lips are saying. Your lip movement can be understood by machines. Or you need not to utter words. The very fact that your lips are moving can be, read by a machine, lip reading machines. Autonomous writing system, that machines can write. Machines can put vocabularies in the right grammatical order and create sentences. And you will not be able to distinguish between sentences being written by machine and sentences being written by human writer. Such a scenario already emerged. Already so many things that you read on internet are not written by humans. They are already being written by AI. That brief news that comes on your Facebook timeline or Twitter are already being written by machines, not by humans. So when you read about sports news or business news or finance news, friends, many of the things that you read on the internet are written by machines, not humans. Or friends, there are AI, that will direct films or create movie trailers or films. AI technology has grown that enough. Or there are chatbots which can receive orders at restaurants. Or there are AI that is tasked with sending missiles or armed drones or weaponized robots. So AI has been deployed in as many areas as possible, friends, such as AlphaGo, Deep Blue, Watson. These are all mind machines which can beat humans. Friends, in future there will be no difference between human brain and machine brain, because the difference between AI and human brain will obscure in the future. So in that scenario, what is going to happen to human civilization will be measured by state, because state has to interfere in these kinds of scenarios. And you just imagine about machine learning, and another very important technology. That is not a future technology, friends. It has already appeared, machine learning. So machine learning is a subfield of artificial intelligence. And machine learning is basically algorithm. And another very powerful technology, a future technology, machine learning. So machine learning algorithm can learn both knowledge and skills. They can learn knowledge and they can learn skills. So Amazon algorithm uses machine learning. So Amazon algorithm can tell you which book is best book and which book is read most widely in the world. National Security Agency's algorithm, machine learning algorithm, will predict possible crimes in future. So friends, there will be a time, not in our lifetime, but your children or grandchildren, by the time of your children or grandchildren, when they are 40s, in their 50s, maybe when your children are at their 50s or 40s or 50, Friends, there will be a new scenario that when your children or grandchildren enter into a self-driving car, then cars will be self-driving. We don't need any human driver in future cars. In your future self-driving cars, friends, you need not to give instructions to the AI in the self-driving cars, because AI will be creating new AI. Machine learning will be creating new machine learning. That machines will be creating new machines. That so far humans are required to create new machines. That machine so far cannot create another machine, but there will be a time, friends, by the time of your grandchildren, machines will be creating machines. In such a scenario, when your grandchildren are entering into a self-driving cars, no engineer, no scientist would be writing an algorithm instructing the car to move step by step from A to B. It will be self-doing. The car will be self-doing it, because it got machine learning algorithm, which itself create another machine learning algorithm. So, friends, the challenge of machine learning are so profound to human culture. In the days to come, machines will be able to learn what you might think. Such a scenario requires so much intervention of state and certainly increases the regulatory potential of state. Could you imagine about computing potential or computing power? Friends, by 2050, it is estimated that computing power will exceed, computing power in the world will exceed the processing power of all human brains in the earth. All the brain put together, one computer can perform the computing power of all these brains in the earth put together. Look at the way in which science is progressing, computing power is progressing, or mathematics is progressing. So once such a far greater efficiency is acquired in terms of computing, so we will face a question in the days to come, whether do we need a human brain at all? Whether do we need a human brain at all? Or, today's newspaper has reported something related to Internet of Things, that an Al Jazeera reporter has alleged against Pegasus software that her intimate photos are being uploaded to Twitter, that she is in bikini, that's her private photo, but that private photo has been taken over by, stolen by Pegasus from her home and being updated on Twitter. And she doubts Pegasus and MBS. That MBS means Mohammed bin Salman of Saudi Arabia. That she was critical of MBS, Mohammed bin Salman of Saudi Arabia, and MBS is using Pegasus of Israel. And the Pegasus has stolen, her private photos and uploaded to Twitter to defame her, to discredit her credibility. So she is a very good journalist of Al Jazeera. So friends, just look at the way in which science is progressing. Friends, 50 billion devices in the world. That means almost everything in the world. But this book, in the days to come, this book will be internet enabled. Present this India's political parties, written by Peter Ronald D'Souza and E. Sridharan. This book, in the days to come, these kinds of books will be enabled by internet. Imagine that a scenario, by this, just imagine this technology, this earphone. In the days to come, this earphone will be equipped with the internet. So many things in the world will be equipped with internet. In such a scenario, friends, there will be no privacy at all. There will be no privacy. So you can't go to bathroom, you can't go to bedroom. Your ceiling fan will be a spying software. Your wardrobe will be a spying software. Your the cloth you wear, your bed sheet, that will be a spying software. So in such a scenario, friends, around us, though there will be so many things around us, all these things will be internet enabled. In such a scenario, the regulatory potential of state will increase to an unimaginable extent. So things like blockchain, which I have talked to you about in the previous lecture, blockchain technology, that that blockchain technology was invented by Satoshi Nakamoto, or cryptocurrency like Bitcoin, launched in 2009. So friends, in the days to come, technologies like blockchain or technologies like robotics, 3D printing, augmented reality, virtual reality, friends, when the thing is that in the days to come, there will be no difference between physical reality and augmented reality. At present, our TV channels are full of augmented reality, and we are not in a position to distinguish between physical reality and augmented reality. And there will be a time, friends, we will not feel any kind of distinction between a virtual reality and a physical reality. So 3D printing, augmented reality, and virtual reality are increasing. So these kinds of technology, coupled with the big data, life will be very different, friends. Life will be very different in such a scenario. So many technologies will make it possible for us to do many things which in the previous world humans cannot do. Or there will be many things in the world which we thought that no machines could do. So machines will make work easy and work quicker. And the consequences of these technologies, all the technologies I have told you, the futuristic technologies, some technologies are not at all futuristic, that already with us, and some technologies are far distant, very distant, and some technologies are very near, but all these technologies are underway, that they are all under pipeline. So friends, it will have profound consequences in our social world, and how we respond to that. So these all raises moral questions, friends. I can tell you very few examples of this moral question for your references. You just imagine Sophia, a social humanoid. I have told you many times about Sophia, which got citizenship in Saudi Arabia. In future, a scenario is like that in future, people prefer to have sex with human robots instead of physical humans. Should it be legally permissible? So it will be a moral question for the state. Can we allow a human being to have sex with a humanoid robot? So that will be a moral question confronted by the state. But, because it's at present we are able to create robots that look like humans, because synthetic biology is developing that way. And whether the state need to interfere and control it, censor it. But the question doesn't end up there, friends. The question doesn't end up there. And science is moving that direction, in which it is thinking, that humanoid sex robot that you have will be a copy of the favorite celebrity, a human celebrity that you love. That you are creating a humanoid sex robot which is looking like a celebrity or just looking like your neighbor. You imagine such a scenario, the moral question that technology will be creating in future. So friends, these are all tough, very tough questions that you have to ask in future. And people would argue that, oh, why do you bother about these kinds of things? Because these robots are at my home. These are my private things. Why do you interfere in that, in the privacy of my home? Whether I have, a robot or not, and my robot look like my neighbor or not. Why do you bother, friends? These are all it's in a way we cannot copy these kinds of arguments because technologies in the days to come are colored by so many moral questions which at present our state is not able to answer. So such as, can technology be allowed to perform like human brain? Will there be a chance of these human-like machines invading humans, that whether machines one day start war against humans? So these type of questions are tough questions. So we have to change. Anyway, we have to change our radar looking at these kinds of technologies in the days to come, that we have to fine tune, tweak our mind, open our mind, raise so much uncomfortable questions. Our old questions are irrelevant, friends. In the old world, we have raised questions like how Dalit lives matters, how women's lives matters, how minorities are persecuted, why poverty, why unemployment. These were all fundamental questions in human society. But friends, in the days to come, we will be confronting new tough questions, like I told you. So that for addressing these questions, friends, we need to change our radar, change our lens, change our focus, or tweak our mind, so that we are in a position to ask uncomfortable questions. Of course, it's a challenge. Friends, I will be talking about these challenges in the next lecture tomorrow. And now the floor is open for discussion, friends. We can have questions now.